Bang ding ding, trademark. He come out 6'7" tall. Bang ding ding, one is star. Bang dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding. It is a perfect day.
Woke up to the sound of the garbage truck again. Upstairs neighbor's toilets leaking on my head. And cars broke down, I missed the bus, there runs a 10. I had a feeling this was a day to stay in bed. I finally left my pad right under Jumbo's cloud roof. A police officer pulled out his gun and said, I said, sir, you got the wrong guy. I guess it's just the perfect day. It's just the perfect day. Na, 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 na.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Eggs. This week we have George Papadeas. George is COO of the HOTH, aka Hit 'em Over the Head, an SEO and content creation platform devoted to bludgeoning its clients with awesomeness. When the HOTH was founded in 2010, the SEO space was filled with sketchy service providers who offered poor support and results, leading to poor experiences. With an eye towards changing the status quo, the HOTH set out to prioritize prioritize support and created a system that allows it to work with more than 200,000 businesses, and quickly found itself the recipient of a number of accolades and awards, including 3 consecutive years spent on the Inc. 5000 list. When George joined the HOTH team and began overseeing their operations, his contributions allowed the company to grow from $250K to more than $2.2 million in revenue per month. Currently, he's focusing on the HOTH's latest acquisition, FreeUp, and the leading solution for hiring and management of pre-vetted online freelancers. So I'm really excited to talk about a lot of this stuff. Some of it is very relevant to the type of work we do, and in sort of this, post-corona world we're living in, this could be even more important than ever. So pleased to welcome our guest, George Papadeas. How you doing, George?
Doing really well. Thank you guys for having me on today. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk, to people outside of our organization. As you just said, it's post-coronavirus world now, and things are a lot different than they were maybe just 2 weeks ago. So I'm really excited to share, where we've been at the HOTH and at FreeUp, and where we're going in the future. So again, thank you for having me today.
So hitting them over the head's a little over the top. Usually I send that right to my spam filter. So do you want to kind of break that down for us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a little violent, but what we wanted to do at the onset of the HOTH, and this is before I joined back in 2010, the 3 individuals that started the HOTH, really set out to differentiate a SEO service platform that was more than just a deliverable, more than just an asset. It really was the holistic experience. Back in 2010, and really, until recently, if you were buying SEO products or services online, there wasn't a lot of face-to-face interaction. There was minimal over-the-phone interaction. Customer support was not a thing. Client experience was not defined by anything. And so, Hit 'em Over the Head came from, we wanted to be able to provide a SEO experience that was customer focused, that not only exceeded expectations with results, but also exceeded expectations with the client experience. And that really set the foundation for us in the infrastructure to take this thing to the next level, really starting in 2016 and onwards, which led to our latest acquisition with FreeUp, where we do share a lot of the same values. And with FreeUp specifically, that's a freelancer marketplace platform that connects business operators and owners with freelance productivity all around the world, really within any niche they'd like. And so that's sort of the long form answer where the HOTH started and where we're going now.
Yeah, I watched a video on your website of your customer relations team, and it looks like quite the team, like a whole full building floor and probably 10 or 12 employees working. So props on you. A few of the guys we've had have only been like solo one-offs, but your team looks really good.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're over here in downtown St. Pete. Again, I wish I was in my office to show you guys around. You get a sneak peek at my apartment now that we're all working from home. But yeah, in the office, we have a very robust client experience team and also a product team. In our office, we actually have over 45 team members internally, but then another 600 freelancers externally that help us with the operation, but then also in content creating as well. And that's just on the HOTH side. On the FreeUp side, we have a network of over 2,000 active freelancers as well on that platform. So while we might be a smaller operation internally, externally to produce our goods and services, if you will, is mainly on freelance productivity.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. And maybe we could talk a little bit about, scaling like this, right? I mean, in my business, I run an advertising marketing agency, and we, obviously leverage remote work or freelance resources a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly this has become a big part of your guys' model as well. I wonder if you talk a little bit about scaling with freelancers, and then I guess ultimately that may have led to your acquisition of FreeUp. So maybe it sort of tells this whole story.
Exactly. I appreciate that. It's something I love. I really like to brag about is that we got to a point with the HOTH where it wasn't just SEO anymore. It wasn't just backlink creation for our clients. Our clients were asking for more. They wanted content on site. They wanted more content off site. And so back in 2016, we committed to developing a content product, which is called HOTH Blogger, which is a very original name for a blog post type product, but it's stuck. And with that, we knew we needed to bring on topic creators, we needed to bring on writers, and we needed to bring on copy editors. The only problem with that is the time we had a office that was only 3,000 square feet. And we knew the overhead costs associated with bringing in in-house writers is ridiculous. Plus the fact that we'd have to recruit locally and find that talent locally. And so we took a more freelancer-based approach, if you will. We hired an internal team to basically be the administrators, to be the folks that were in charge of the freelancers, and then started hiring as many remote writing-based freelancers, if you will, content creation freelancers to support this product. And they're all US-based in the HOTH ecosystem. And we just built it out organically. Every time we saw a spike in our writer queue with the orders we were bringing in, we brought on more writers from a freelance perspective, and kind of built it on the Uber model where it's on a per project basis. For every project that a writer completes, that's what they get paid out for. And so by doing that, we were able to not only scale faster, we were able to scale more efficiently in terms of cost of goods sold. And then also we were able to provide our freelancers way more resources just because we had that internal admin team that we already built out. And so from that, we got to a point last year in 2019 where now our clients were asking us, okay, you guys are providing really great SEO. You're providing awesome content. Now we need an accountant. Now we need someone to do our paid ads. Now we need somebody to just be a virtual assistant. And we thought to ourselves, well, we have all these really great freelancers in our platform on the HOTH side that can do so much more than just writing. And so like we have paralegals that are writing blog posts for us. So why are we not leveraging the talents that they have for the other tasks that our clients need done? And so we came to this thought process as a leadership group that we need to start building out a freelance platform for our clients to take advantage of so that they can get anything digitally done they want through the HOTH. Well, ipso facto, fast forward a couple of weeks later, we were connected with Nathan Hirsch from FreeUp. He's the former CEO and founder of FreeUp, who is in Orlando, Florida, which is really only 2 hours away from us, from our headquarters in St. Pete. And come to find out, Nathan is looking to exit from FreeUp, and that was just a natural transition for us. And to find a company that shared the exact same values that we had, that puts their team first, that puts culture at a forefront, was just really exciting. And so we completed that acquisition and made a really great connection with Nathan and his business partner, Connor. And now we're hitting the ground running with FreeUp. We could have built the thing or we could have bought it, and we went ahead with the purchase just so we can, go a lot faster. And so it's been a whirlwind, but it's been a lot of fun, and it's been really cool to meet all of these different freelancers with all of these talents that we would have never thought to include in a freelance marketplace platform. So hopefully I didn't keep rambling there. Hopefully I still got you guys, but that's
great
story, if you will.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, one of the biggest problems in using freelancers, especially if you've got many of them and scaling that operation, is communication.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this platform must help facilitate some of that communication. But what tools and things are you implementing to make sure that you're communicating properly with everybody? You mentioned, for example, that you went from, just employing copywriters to all of a sudden needing, I don't know, paralegals or whomever. Like, I mean, how are you reaching out? How are you creating these relationships? I mean, just basically at scale, right? How do you have so many people working for you, yet you're able to have this great communication?
Yeah, it really comes down to humanizing the freelancer, if you will. A lot of the times what we found with other freelance platforms and businesses who have utilized as freelancers in the past is that it's really just either a line item cost or a line item asset. And that's not really it. It's our freelancers are our community. Our freelancers are our culture. When we're hothing, it's not just hothing our client base, it's also hothing our freelancers and our internal team. And so what we've done is, one, everyone gets a Slack. We have a very robust Slack presence, if you will, across the board. For our writers on the Hoth side, we have a Facebook group that's more or less a message board, if you will, for training tips, new jobs, an opportunity for the freelancers to communicate with each other. And then also, we just had our third annual conference where we fly all of as many of our freelancers down and hang out with them for a couple of days and have sessions on, it's called HOTHCon, by the way. I didn't throw that one in there, but HOTHCon, check it out next year, 2020. But we have this conference where we bring the freelancers down and have these sessions that teach them how to write better, teach them how to make more money on the internet, teach them how to have a better client experience when interacting with either our clients or their own clients and whatever else that they're doing. And just an opportunity to bring people together. And what's been really cool is since we've had this Facebook group, we've had it since 2016, since the inception, you have folks that have never met each other in person. Yet when they came together at HOTHCon, you would have thought they were the best of friends just because there's communication via Slack, there's communication via Facebook, so on and so forth. And so it's just really cool to be able to have that community where we feel this connection with people that are on the other side of the country, that are not within our physical ecosystem, but are within the realm, the ecosystem of the Hoth, and now FreeUp as well. And so, yeah, we just try to do as much as possible to share our culture with them to be a part of. Another thing that we did, and I know I'm ranting, but this is actually really cool, is we have a personal relationship with Ric Flair. We bring him out to trade shows.
Oh, nice.
Signs autographs and everything. We got him in the office once, and we had a few freelancers that were Ric Flair fans. So we got them on a plane. We flew them down to the office and surprised them with Ric Flair. And
nice.
They signed autographs and pictures. So it's just things like that to share the community aspect with our
Well, I think what I love so much about what you're saying is, I mean, it really is the difference, right? I mean, it's a nuanced difference, but it is a difference. And it is that of seeing freelancers as humans rather than some commodity.
Correct.
They are, especially some platforms are particularly guilty of this, making, creative work highly commoditized and really difficult for a lot of people to make a living. They end up burning a lot of hours for not a lot of money. Some of it is that it's, can be commoditized, but at the same time, the way that some platforms handle it is very impersonal and it's much more transactional. It's much more, I have this, it's worth X number of dollars. Do you want it? That kind of thing. And so, but I think, so you mentioned a lot of things in there that are really important and really valuable in terms of people first and all that other stuff. But I wonder if you could maybe get into vetting your freelancers a little bit, like the process that you go through when you're bringing on helpers. So, because I know that for a lot of people, and especially the listeners of this show, it's a lot of business people and startup founders and things like that who might be digging into using freelancers for different things. A lot of development and things like that is getting done by freelance. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your process in recruiting freelancers and how to sort of separate the good from the bad or the wheat from the chaff.
Sure. So there's going to be two parts of this answer. There's going to be the Hoth side and then the FreeUp side. With the Hoth side, it's pretty simple. Our recruiting for freelancers is actually mostly by word of mouth through the referrals through the other freelancers. But also we do use, Indeed, LinkedIn, Jobs, and then also ProBlogger, which is what sort of a recruiting site for freelance writers. And what they do is they go through an application process. Basically, they send in writing samples. We have a whole team that is strictly just hiring writers. The team will go through the writing samples and once they find the right style that we're looking for. They'll onboard that writer. The writer will go through a very brief training because we want our blog posts to be kind of succinct across the board. Styles will be a little bit different, but I basically call it the Domino's effect. If you get a Domino's pizza in St. Petersburg, Florida, it's going to be the same pizza that you're going to get in Salt Lake City. And so we wanted the same thing with blog posts. So they go through our training. Once they're done with the training, they can begin taking orders and fulfilling content orders. On the free up side, it's just a little bit different. It's depending on the niche. From a recruiting side, if we don't have a freelancer or a platform that is able to take on a certain job from a client, we'll actually go out and recruit directly for that niche. Whether and we use a CRM called Breezy HR that helps a lot with that. It's an applicant tracking system, but basically what we'll do is we'll use, again, LinkedIn Jobs has been very successful for us, Indeed, to go find those freelancers. Now, the freelancers we already have in the system, what happens is, and again, this is on the free up side, we'll have a client put in a job, put in an ask, detail what that ask is, what that job is, and then our internal team in free up will then go find a freelancer that's already been pre-vetted for whatever niche this job is in, and then supply that client with the freelancer. The client gets to interview the freelancer, make sure they're the right fit. And then once they're the right fit, the work can begin.
I was just going to ask you how you go about matching the client with the freelancer, because there's got to be so many different writing topics that you have to cover. Like, say, for example, a brewery hits you up for some SEO content. You got to find a writer that knows about beer and doesn't sound like an idiot doing it. So trying to get those two to mesh. I mean, do you have like a checklist of hobbies that all your writers go through just to, hey, I study this on the side?
Yeah, on the HOTH side, when it specifically comes to content writing and, depending on the subject matter, our writers fill out what they're comfortable writing about. And so that could be food and beverage, that could be law, that could be doctors. I don't know the professional term, but it could be whatever niche that they're proficient in. They mark that in their profile that they have. And so they'll get jobs in our platform that are specific to that niche. Now, if that article comes back from the client says, this is not what I'm looking for, we don't have a cap on how many times a client can reject an article, only because we want to exceed on expectations. And so when that article comes back and we see we missed the mark, that's what our internal admins do, is they make sure that we can not only make it right for the client, but we can go above and beyond for them. So they'll hand pick another writer or share that feedback with that current writer, and we'll make sure we get the job done for the client.
That's good to hear. Ryan?
Oh, cool. Okay. So one of the things I wanted to get into is turnover. So there's so many people who have trouble getting into using freelancers and things like that for reasons of freelancers are sort of notoriously flaky. And so, obviously if you can give them regular work and things, they become maybe less flaky, but the people who are running around job to job to job, have a tendency to show up or disappear. And depending on if you're working with somebody who's maybe a little nomadic, they, might be in a time zone that's way off, or, suddenly be in a time zone that's way off. So I wonder how you guys deal with sort of high turnover as, a function of business.
Sure.
Maybe as it pertains to running an e-commerce business, but also just sort of in general terms.
Yeah, I think that's it's part of the game. It's cost of doing business. Within the free up side, we're very particular about the freelancers that we bring on. We like to brag that we really only bring in the top 1% of all freelancers for the niches that we offer, the types of jobs that we offer, and because of that. And when we bring the freelancer to the ecosystem, we make sure they're taken care of. We make sure they are given tools and opportunities to develop, but then also continue to supply them with incoming jobs. And so, unfortunately, turnover is part of the game, but that's our problem on the free up, and that should be the client's problem. If we do find that a client either has a negative experience with a freelancer, or a freelancer, in a very rare case from the free up platform, mysteriously disappears, which does not happen, the client will be supplied with another freelancer within hours, not days, not months. The project will continue, and our freelancers will make sure that they pick up where the last one left off. On the HOTH side, freelancer turnover is not really a thing. Interestingly enough, with our blogger writers, our best blogger writers that we have, our most proficient ones, were the first ones we hired back in 2016, and they're still on our platform. Kind of become the pseudo leaders within the freelancer team itself. And so that actually feels really good. That's something I really like to talk about. And hopefully that continues to transition from the Hoth to free up as well, as we continue to build up the freelancer marketplace on the free up side.
Well, that's the thing, right? I believe as you become more, loyal to them, they become more loyal to you, and there are plenty of people who freelance because that's what they want to do. It's not like some stopgap between projects or whatever. It's, this is what they want to do. And I imagine that's why you have a little less turnover among bloggers and things like that, is they just want to be writing, and it's difficult to get paid to be a writer. So if you can do that somewhere, with some regularity, I'm sure that's something you, as a freelancer would be really excited to come across. So I want to maybe touch base again or circle back around to some of that culture that you were talking about. You mentioned that Free Up really aligned with you guys culturally, or lined up with the Hoth culturally. And I wonder if maybe you'd expand on that a little bit in terms of, what do you mean by sort of your culture? I find so many people, and I think this would be really useful for a lot of our listeners, in that culture is one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot. And sometimes it's translated as having a sweet ping pong table, or, bringing in lunch once a week or whatever. But I think that, especially in a people first business, like what you've described, where you're bringing in freelancers from all over the world to help out with all these different projects. Like if you're artificial, if you're not being people first, like it'll stink, people won't become loyal to you. And so I wondered if you wouldn't just talk a little bit about sort of the things that you guys do that make the Hoth and make Free Up unique, culturally speaking.
Yeah. And so, gosh, are you guys ready for this? Because here we go. It's as simple as, and I can talk about Hoth and hit them over the head, but it's as simple as being treated the way you want to be treated. I want to make sure when I interact with the freelancers that they treat me in a very respectful, honest, integral way. But the only way I'm going to get that is if I treat them that way, if my team treats them that way. And you got to think that the majority of our team is freelancer, is not internal, is not HQ based. It's our freelancers. And so why, would we just treat them as if they're on their own, side of the world? We need to treat them as if they're family. We treat our internal team like their family. Why not our freelancers as well? And, the ping pong tables, we don't have a ping pong table. We had one, but we got rid of it internally. It makes way too much noise. But freelancers, and providing stipends or Amazon gift cards, the physical things, the tangible items, that's great and all. But really what it comes down to is the human interaction. How willing is our internal team going to be, going above and beyond for our freelancers? Because with that's almost an investment. Our freelancers will go above and beyond for our clients, or even for us internally if we're in a bind and we need some internal productivity as well. And so I think to answer your question, it really comes down to just being a human and being a good human and following through on what you say you're going to do and always doing the right thing always. And, it's hard for me to answer that question not in a broad sense. Sure. But I guess to get very specific for you, it's just treating people the way you want to be treated. And that's how we run our business. We as much as we can do the right thing always. Obviously there's different perceptions of that. You're never going to make everybody happy, but sure. As long as you can, be a good person, be there for them and make exceptions for whatever they need or what have you. I think you touched on it earlier, is providing the experience that's not in the other freelance platforms, providing an experience to where even though these freelancers are 1099 and they're out of the office and they might be wherever in the world, they're still within our group, they're still within our tribe, and we're going to treat them that way. We have on the Hoth side specifically over the last couple of years, our freelancers have said, I'm proud to be part of this family. I feel as if I'm contributing and making a difference and have a sense of purpose. And that's very profound for me, because that's something I would expect maybe our higher level managers in the office to have. But I have a freelancer who on a per-project basis, that lives in Indiana that tells me that he loves being part of the family. That just makes me want to work harder for them, basically. Yeah. And how we're going to transition that to Free Up. I mean, that's really what Free Up had. And Nathan Hirsch, the former CEO, did a fantastic job being there for his freelancers, being their rock, listening to their needs, adapting the platform to make it more freelancer focused, if you will, providing them resources to grow and develop. And so that's where that natural fit came, because we were already doing that for the writers in the HOTH ecosystem. So to have that basis already set from Nathan was just really an incredible experience, and helped us go even faster once the acquisition was made.
Yeah, no, I think, you touched on a couple of really key things, but I think, that human component is really the most critical part. There's so much to being a freelancer and trying to operate on your own and all that stuff. And from having freelanced myself in the past, like I understand that, having some stability with a contract or something. I mean, most freelancers never really get stability. It's always chasing for that next client or chasing for whatever. So I imagine once you've discovered a client who, in your case, the client that will take good care of me, make sure that I'm pretty secure, there's an abundance of work, or at least available work, like all those things, and then treating me as if I'm one of their own, even though I am this outsider. I think that's really critical, just, in terms of, it's how you would manage a remote team, or, that was internal, or how you would manage, freelance talent. I think it's kind of the same thing. And it goes back to that sort of core empathy, that ability to really look after the flock, and that. So I think that's really cool that you guys do that. I wondered if you could maybe talk a little bit about sort of, like, we've got this question here on this one sheet that says, when's the right time to start hiring for your business? But I wonder if we can't maybe tailor that question a little bit to this sort of current environment. Mm-hmm. I'm a big advocate that despite all this Corona stuff, like, we need to try and keep the economy moving as best as we can. Obviously things are a little crazy. We're all in upheaval. Everybody's working from home, and there are a lot of people who are scared or concerned. And ultimately that's moving people away from productivity and things like that. But I think one of the things we can do to try and weather this storm as best we can is seek out whatever normalcy we can find. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously work may be slower, things may be down, but I wonder if, you could talk about not only the right time to hire for your own business, but how do we weather this? And as a business owner, do we keep doing what we've been doing? How is the type of work we need to change, things like that?
Sure. I think, it's a different world than it was a week ago. And it was a different world from a week before that. And, I think what it comes down to is, first, you have to realize as a business operator or owner is that if you're not adapting, if you're not course correcting right now, and things are going to be business as usual. You have clients to take care of, you have deliverables you need to provide, but in terms of internal operation, it's not going to be the same as it was. And this is my opinion, but it's not going to be the same as it was 2 weeks ago. And it may change week over week until we get some sort of stability. And with that, there has to be a sense of agileness, if you will, and being able to be nimble. And so that's where freelancers come in and can help with that. Because if you find that there's a part of your business that is experiencing growth in this weird time, we have clients who are experiencing massive growth within their niche, and then we have clients who have flatlined basically. And so if you're one of those folks, those business operators that are experiencing really great growth, do you hire internally? Do you go hire W-2s in a time where you're probably remote and you probably are not in your office setting if you have one? Or can you onboard a freelancer fairly quickly to do whatever productivity you need, whether it's managing the Google Sheet, being your virtual assistant, being some sort of client experience team member, whether it's proactive outreach, live chat, whatever that may be. I think what it comes down to is how agile can you be? How nimble can you be within your business outside of what you already do? And so, and then also, so that's if your business is being very successful. If your business is somewhat flatlined and you have to make very difficult personnel decisions, how can you replace some of? And this is kind of a touchy thing to talk about, but how can you not so much replace, but support your business with productivity? To where you as the business owner and operator can still focus on making sure your business operates, to make sure it stays alive. Because if you're a business owner and operator and you unfortunately have to move away and let go some of your staff, there's still things that need to be done from an entry level perspective that you as the business owner and operator should not be doing. And so that's where freelancers can come in. And so I think what it comes down to answer your question in a more specific way, if I can, when do you start hiring? Really, that comes down to you as the business owner and operator. What tasks are you doing that are not worth your time? what tasks are you doing that are not growing the business? What tasks are you doing that are not sustaining your business, especially in a time like this? I think once you have a list of what those tasks are and you have very direct SOPs as to what is needed to get those tasks done, that's when you can start taking a look at, okay, who can you hire either internally or externally via freelancers? And I hope that answers your question.
No, I think that's helpful. And maybe there's a way, let's maybe like flip this on its ear too, as you mentioned, I mean, and it's in the news every day. People are losing their jobs, they're being furloughed, they're being, temporarily let go, whatever. I mean, there's, a lot of situations for a lot of people. And one possible thing, if we're trying to look for opportunity for these people who are struggling right now, might be doing some freelance work, or maybe becoming somebody who can leverage their skill set and putting it online. As somebody that does work like that, not necessarily as it pertains to the HOTH or even to FreeUp, but if you were maybe recently, moved around, displaced, and need to start looking for income, do you have any advice for people who might be interested in getting into freelance and the types of things that a company might be looking for in a freelancer?
Well, on top of that too, where do you see the gig economy going? I mean, because if I get into it and I suddenly learn how to write and start working for you guys, is it something that's going to be around for a while, or is it something that's going away here once Corona's gone?
That's a great question. Gosh, here we go. Okay. So when it comes to the current state and folks being furloughed, losing their jobs, teachers being out of school just because of closures, there's a lot of really great talent out there. And we've seen it. We've seen it from folks who have applied into the HOTH ecosystem to write, and then also in FreeUp as well, with folks who have a myriad skill set across many different niches. And so to get into that is actually fairly easy. At first, you got to know where to start, though. I think that's the biggest hurdle. Is once you know where to start, everything else kind of falls into place, especially depending on what your expertise is or what your core competency is. And so what we've done is on both the HOTH and FreeUp side, have dramatically increased our outreach efforts, our recruiting efforts for both platforms, for both writers, copywriters, and then also just general freelancers within every single niche. And the response has been overwhelming in the best way possible. And so I think, just to answer the question of how do they get into that, it really comes down to what job boards are you looking at? Because there's a lot of freelance positions on the job boards right now. What's your outlook on what your job's going to be after this is all said and done? Is it going to be there? Is it not going to be there? And then I guess the third one is how organized can you be? Because when it comes to freelancing doesn't mean you just, and you guys know this, you don't just go into a home office, open up the laptop and go for it. You have to have a very high level of organization. You have to have a high level of discipline. And you have to be able to be a business owner, operator, but also the executor as well for your client. And it's a difficult thing. It's not easy being a freelancer. And I think, being ready, if you have just been furloughed or just been laid off, being ready to kind of up your game a little bit, because things are going to inherently be different as a freelancer. Now, that answers that side of the question. In terms of where are we going as a gig economy and how does this coronavirus situation affect that? I think naturally, without the sans coronavirus situation, I think naturally you are beginning to see the growth of the gig economy, beginning to see the value of freelance productivity within a workplace across many different types of businesses. In this coronavirus situation, and I don't know if it's a success or an unfortunate situation, depending on who's listening. It kind of speeds that up. In my opinion, from what we've seen, at least from the FreeUp side, is that there are still a lot of tasks to be done. And the fastest way to do that is through freelance productivity. As more and more of these businesses go virtual, that have not traditionally been virtual, and even the government, I mean, there's government departments, local, state, and federal, that are now going remote. Like you're going to be seeing all of these different industries that are not typically remote work now moving more towards remote. And as you move more towards remote, then you got to start thinking through regulatory compliance. Are you compliant for remote W-2 workers? Do you have W-2 workers in other states? And are you compliant for those states? And then after that, you got to think, okay, well, if you're not W-2 compliant, if you bring on 1099, are you 1099 compliant? And then after that, it's just this natural progression that these businesses are going to start figuring out. And the end kind of once you get to the end, you figure out freelance productivity can not only save your business a lot of money, but you can also get very talented individuals from a freelance perspective as well. And so I think it just speeds that process up, to answer your question.
So say I want to come on as a freelancer and do audio engineering for you, for a company or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's, Fiverr, they're trying to get it at the lowest dollar. Okay. So I'm going to come out and do an hour worth of work for $10. What kind of income can I expect coming in as a freelancer working for someone like you guys? Is it project based? Is it hourly based? How do you figure out your rates?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not a race to the bottom like some of the other freelance platforms. Let's make that clear. But it's hourly. It's the HOTH side is project based, and FreeUp, it is hourly based, and it's an hourly rate that's agreed upon between the business owner operator, the customer, and then also the freelancer as well. The customer does set parameters as to what sort of range they're looking for from an hourly basis. Once the freelancer gets in, they can start talking about what that hourly rate is, and then of course FreeUp takes a percentage of that. But really, what it comes down to, it is hourly, and it is not a race to the bottom that you get on some of the other freelancer marketplaces.
How busy can you stay? Do you guys have enough work to keep 2,000 freelancers busy?
Yes,
obviously you do right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, am I only going to do one project a week or 2-3 hours? I mean, if I'm going to go and jump in and try and do something like this, I want to stay busy with it. I don't want to just do something Friday night,
Well, I think what it comes down to is how many different competencies can a freelancer have? Obviously, a freelancer has a core competency. There's one or two things they're very good at, but how many different niches can you play in, basically? And so the more diverse you can be with the tasks, the more diverse you can be with your background, the more tasks you can fulfill. And so, getting very niche into, sound editing, whatever that may be, there may only be a few jobs for that in the platform, if that. But if you can do that and do some basic bookkeeping, but then also do customer support and do live chat and do virtual assisting, whatever that may be, yes, the jobs will flow. And there's plenty in there for everyone.
Yeah, no, that's great. I wonder, and maybe this is where FreeUp comes in, and so I'll let you explain. But, as entrepreneurs begin using freelance resources and things like this, how do they manage once they've got more than a few people? I mean, because ultimately what ends up happening is the more freelancers you have, the more it becomes a full-time job to project manage. And if you're trying to run a company or build a business or something, it could be really difficult to be spending your time doing that work. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if you talk a little bit about just sort of from the entrepreneur's perspective, if they're leveraging freelance resource, maybe using a platform like FreeUp to do so, how does this experience play out?
Yeah, we have clients that are exactly that. They have are doing thousands of hours a week in freelance productivity, and so you would need someone to manage that, and that's where freelancers come in. We have freelancers that do project management and that are better project managers than I am, and are very talented in that, very organized. And we actually utilize freelancers for project management on the HOTH side as well. The HOTH is one of FreeUp's largest customers, actually. Like, we use freelancers for our entry level type tasks on the product side, but also use freelancers for project management as well for some of the bigger type projects that we're doing. And so, it's you will need a project manager at some point as you build out your freelancer base. For whatever tasks you're doing, but that does not mean you can't use a freelancer for project management as well. And one of the great things is, because our freelancers and our clients can talk directly with each other, the clients will start to identify who are the top freelancers that are working for them, and through that, they can see whether they want to invest some time in making them a project manager, or invest the funds into making them a project manager, whatever that may be. And so, I hope that answers your question. Is just continue utilizing freelancers as a next level, if you will, in the org chart.
Well, yeah. So can you just talk a little bit about that process then? Okay. So you've sold me. I feel really good about the platform. As an entrepreneur, I'm thinking, God, if I could just offset some of this, I don't know, customer service support, just to throw something out there. If I could offload that so that me and my co-founder aren't taking all those emails, that would be really awesome. How do I start? Like, how would a person who's never maybe leveraged freelance work get started doing that, either via your platform or in general?
Well, then also on top of that, how does working with their existing CRM or their existing platforms come into play as well? So like if one guy uses Notion and one guy uses Monday, do you have to find someone that's already using those platforms?
Yeah, so I think before you even think about starting to use freelancers, the most important part is making sure that whatever process they're going in, that there is a very developed SOP, a very developed process for that. To expect a freelancer to come in and start doing customer support for you with no process to follow, you've already failed. You're just going to be throwing money down the well, because that freelancer is going to come in and basically false start. You're setting them up for failure. And so what we tell our clients coming in, once we either have an email conversation with them or a phone conversation, is whatever task they're doing, have an SOP ready to go of some sorts, just so that the freelancer can follow and hit the ground running. So whether that's using Monday, whether that's using Groove HQ, whether that's using Service Cloud over Salesforce, you need to set that onboarding, even if it's a very basic onboarding, but an onboarding, if you will, to make sure that that freelancer is ready to go when they come in. Now, once you have that, how do you get matched with the freelancer? How do we get to help solve your problems? You just go to FreeUp and there's a scheduled consultation link right at the bottom with Garrett. He's our director of business development. You can get on the phone with Garrett tomorrow, and our consultations are not pitches, they're not sales. We don't put together PowerPoints for you. We just want to hear what problems you're experiencing and then how we can help solve your problems. Once we can solve your problems with the freelancer, we'll connect you with that freelancer after posting that job. And then from there, the freelancer will follow the SOP or the process. And obviously, if there's any needed onboarding, if they're using Asana or using Monday, it's just spending a little bit of time with them to onboard them with that process. But our freelancers have done this before. They know what this looks like. And most of them already have the knowledge and the experience of some of the CRMs being used or the different project management softwares being used. Like I had a freelancer I was working with last week, and she was great. And I thought I would have to teach her how to use Asana. We use Asana on the HOTH side for project management. And she was teaching me things in Asana after about 5 minutes. And so I thought that was kind of cool.
Do you, you mentioned having a great SOP for, when you bring these people on, just like you might if you were going to hire a W-2. Mm-hmm. Do you have people internally that help you craft those sorts of things? Like, so, I mean, do you have like an advising team or something on your end that if as a, entrepreneur, I want to come in and I've never really hired, I'm really high level on my creative process, but I'm not really good at that business side. Do you have support for those kind of people too? Or do they hire a freelancer who's good at that?
Yeah, basically. It's we do have freelancers that are operations focused that can help build up processes. A lot of the internal processes that we have at FreeUp were actually developed by the freelancers on the freelancers that support the internal FreeUp team. But basically, we have a lot of resources on the FreeUp site. The FreeUp just went through a rebranding. It used to be FreeUp with three E's, .com, which is abundantly confusing. Now it's just FreeUp with 2 E's.net, so freeup.net. And, we have a whole blog built out. There are videos in the past from the past CEO, Nathan, that talk through the importance of SOPs and what they look like for freelancers. And then also, like I said, we had Garrett, the director of business development, that you can get on the phone with. That'll kind of walk you through what that looks like. And so to answer your question, yes, the resources are definitely there to help a business owner or operator that, is not really used to building out SOPs, that is used to just doing the things that they know how to do, or doing things because that's the way you've done them for the past year or so on and so forth. And so, we have a lot of different tools that you can utilize to start building that out.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Edmund.
Oh, I was just agreeing with him. I actually was curious on how the billing goes for the client side. If someone, if I run a lawn company and I hire someone to answer phones and reply to emails for me, how do I know that they're not just sending an email and waiting for 4 hours and sending another email? How do you track their time?
Yeah, we have our own time clock within FreeUp. And so if the client and the freelancer agree that this is a 20-hour-a-week position with a set productivity standard, that time clock shouldn't go over 20 hours a week. If it does go over 20 hours a week, that needs to be discussed between the freelancer and the client. If the client didn't have that conversation, then that's where our team comes in and we make it right for the client always. That's not even not even with a question. We want to make sure our clients have the best experience possible. In terms of productivity standards, that's on the business owner operator to make sure that they set a very clear productivity standard for the freelancer coming in, so that there aren't false starts, there aren't missed opportunities, there isn't any perceived nefarious acts going on. So yeah, that would be my answer to that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, so much of working with freelancers is sort of dependent on trust. And, if you're hiring somebody, generally speaking, anyway, you'll take the time, you'll have the interview process in person, maybe you'll get to meet someone and, start to develop that human relationship. And, that sort of lends to trust. With freelancers, especially via some platform, it's not always that simple. Sometimes it's really difficult to get to the spot where you have that trust built up. And so I wonder, if there's anything you guys do. I mean, you mentioned a lot of, keep our clients happy, make sure that, you guys have a customer support team that is there to sort of catch any issues. But how do you work to develop that trust or help facilitate the trust, I guess, between a freelancer and a client?
Yeah, it comes down to the freelancers within our platform have been in the platform for a while. And so they've been around the block, for lack of a better phrase. They know what that experience should look like with the client side. And yeah, it's a bit of a trust thing from the client side to make sure that when they come into our platform, it's not just going to be a Fiverr experience or an Upworks experience. But that's where, like I said, the freelancer experiences that they've had and the tenure of the freelancers that we have, but then also the infrastructure of the support team on the back end and the internal operations team. Like I said at the beginning of this conversation, if there is ever an issue between a client and the freelancer, this is not one of those relationships where the client's, out of the money and that's it, and they have to go back and find somebody else. It's our internal support team will find that and supply them with another freelancer within hours. And I think that by itself, having the brand of FreeUp behind these pool of incredible freelancers, that is the thing that helps build the trust, to where we don't have to rely on the individual brands of the freelancers or the individual reviews of the freelancers. We have the brand of FreeUp. These freelancers are behind the brand of FreeUp. And if there's ever a freelancer that, and this doesn't happen often at all, I don't think it's happened once since we acquired the company in November, but there's a freelancer that is just doing the wrong thing and not hitting the mark, has been through many different clients and has left clients with a subpar or average experience, they're just not going to be in our platform anymore. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, FreeUp is the top 1% of freelancers across all niches. And if you cannot hit that standard, you can't be in our platform. And so we're very protective of that. That does not mean we're letting everyone go on a moment's notice. We make sure to have our evidence, to have our argument, and to make a fair and concise assessment of what a freelancer is doing. But at the same time, we have very clear standards, and the standard is you have to exceed on expectations with the clients and give them the experience that they're looking for, and then some.
Yeah, as we're starting to get to the end here, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about, so I think there might be a step in sort of the entrepreneur's process where they're starting to feel the burden of wearing so many hats, and maybe they recognize they need to go out and find some help or whatever. But I wonder if you could talk about some of that thing, some of those decisions that might need to be reached in order for an entrepreneur to understand what it is they need. So, for example, I mean, one term that gets bandied about a lot is like the idea of a virtual assistant. But maybe you could talk a little about, what does a virtual assistant even do? Like, how do I know that I need that? It's maybe a little more concrete on something like a copywriter. I need someone to write my blog, or, graphic designer. I need somebody to design my website. But, how do I know that I need help, and what kinds of services can I pass off to a virtual admin?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, every entrepreneur, myself included, and so I get to say this, it's okay, we have a level of ego associated with us. Like, we think that to be able to take over the world, we have to do everything. And I think the first step in figuring out that you need help is to kind of let that ego go a little bit, to understand that there are, one, smarter people out there than you, two, more efficient people out there than you for whatever tasks that you'd like to offboard. And then three, knowing that the more you can offload some of your lower level tasks, the more growth you can give to your company, or the more support you can give to your company to support growth. And so I think what it comes down after that realization and kind of letting the ego go a little bit, you then have to figure out what tasks are you doing as the owner operator that is entry level, lower level, if you will? Is it button clicking? Is it Google Sheet maintenance? Is it uploading leads to Salesforce? Is it whatever that may be? What tasks do you really just lament overdoing? Like, man, this is not worth my time. I'm more talented than this. And that's your answer. Those are the things you need to start offboarding to a freelancer, because Lord knows there are freelancers out there that have more experience than you, than me, than anyone else combined when it comes to entry-level type work or virtual assistant type work. And so I would start at the bottom and work your way up. Also, something that I do personally is kind of compartmentalize across the departments, if you will, that we have within the FreeUp and HOTH ecosystems. Is what I do with my team is I have product managers, and with those product managers, every single 6 months, we have biannual check-ins. At the biannual check-ins, what we do is we write down all of the tasks that they're doing. And by doing that, we identify what tasks they really shouldn't be doing, that they need to be delegating, and what tasks they need to focus more time on. And then after that, those lower level tasks, we go out and we find freelancers, predominantly through FreeUp. Like I said, the HOTH, we're very proud of it. We're one of FreeUp's biggest clients right now. But it really comes down to prioritizing. How efficient can you be with prioritizing, not just with your team, but also for an entrepreneur, for yourself? And how much of your ego can you let go that there might be someone out there that can do tasks better than you?
Well, and what about stuff like, lead generation or business development, things like that? I mean, is that something freelanceable? Can you outsource somebody to, and I guess when I think of, I won't call out the platform, but, when I think of specific platforms that you might go to for like lead generation, you typically end up with somebody, in a third world country scraping LinkedIn for email addresses or something like, you get in some kind of shady practices. So I wonder, if you could talk a little bit about like, how might I use this for lead generation or business development? You mentioned that you guys have some process people and things like that, but how might I use it for something like that?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is, the answer is yes, you can. You can find a business development person that is freelancer, or a client experience team member that can be freelance. And so what you do is if that's something that you haven't been able to find on some of the other freelancer platforms, you go into FreeUp and submit a ticket for it, submit a job for it. And then it'll be on our internal team to go out and find those freelancers. If we don't have those types of freelancers within our ecosystem, we'll go out and we'll start recruiting for that job. I just talked to Rachel. She's our director of freelance relations. That's what she's been doing basically all this week, is going out and trying to fill these tickets that we've received from clients for jobs with freelancers that we don't have within our ecosystem yet. And we're beginning to fill those. And we're not afraid to go out there and be that recruiter, if you will, for a business owner and operator to fill that role, whether it's business development, whether it's an account manager, whether it is some sort of lead and specialist. We do have freelancers on the platform. Just speaking what's on my mind, we do have freelancers on the platform that can set up PPC campaigns. We have a PPC department within the HOTH, and we utilize 2 or 3 freelancers just for our PPC department to support our campaign managers. So it's really whatever level you're looking for, as long as that's communicated to our internal FreeUp team or through the job posting, we can go out and find that individual for you.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I mean, right now is maybe a especially difficult time for lead generation and things like that, given, the situation at hand. But, like even in my little marketing agency, right? I mean, we could benefit from having more steady leads coming in, right? And
Correct.
so, and I guess that's where a question like that would come from, right? Like, because in my mind, and maybe this is that entrepreneurial ego that you're talking about, it would be me saying, oh, well, I'll go out and stir up some business, or let me reach out to some people. I'll see what I can do. But the idea of offloading that or handing it off to somebody who actually could be better at it than I am, which probably wouldn't take much, is kind of an interesting idea, just because you don't think of some of these core business functions as being things that you could sort of give away. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really interesting. So thanks for some insight on that.
Yeah,
cool.
So George, we're kind of get there on time. We're almost out of it. Can you tell people where they can find you and more about where to go?
Yeah, so me personally, you can find me in downtown St. Petersburg. It's about 80 degrees right now, so come on down. But no, we're all quarantined here. You guys can find, I'm on LinkedIn. My email is george@thehoth.com. No one looks at it but me. It goes directly to this guy right here, which I'm on about 24/7. That's a picture of my girlfriend in the background. So LinkedIn, george@thehoth.com. And the hoth.com/about, if you don't remember any of this, if you go to the hoth.com/about, I also have a profile on there with all my contact information. Be happy to answer any questions of your listeners or have any would love to be connected. If there are any follow-up questions, and LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. I mean, whatever you can do to find me, I'm there. So
freeup.net, right?
Yep. So that's me personally. Sorry.
Okay.
For the businesses, it's freeup.net, FREEUP.net. And then for the Hoth, it's just thehoth.com. No affiliation with Star Wars or Disney whatsoever. I got to put that in there. For Star Wars.
Yeah, the mouse is always listening.
Mouse is listening. So, and then thehoth.com. Yep. And to schedule any consultations on either side for the Hoth, it's thehoth.com/meet. And then for FreeUp, just go to freeup.net, scroll down to Garrett's picture, click that button, and you can get on the phone with him today.
Cool. All right. Well, that sounds awesome, George. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this. It's a really great conversation, lots of interesting stuff. So I'm looking forward to sharing this with the audience.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for your time today. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much. Have a good one and stay safe. Huh?
Cheers. You as well.